I would just add that as a general rule, the earlier stage you are, the more unlikely that you're going to receive money from a long distance VC, because they'd like to be close to the investments early stage. So that's, as you move further along and you have revenue and you have management and you have track record and you have market share, then it's more of a private equity play. It's a hands-off play, and it's more likely that you're not only attractive locally but to cross-border investors, both within Latin America and between North America and Europe looking at Latin America as well. The other thing is, if you don't fit into that profile and you still want to look carefully at the profile, at the portfolio of companies that the VCs have in the United States, and try and find some synergy that's interesting. I mean, these guys do keep an eye on emerging markets now, and they're always looking for it. To give you a specific example, New York, one of the things that put Brazil on the map in New York was a company called Fotolog, as they call it here in Brazil. It's a photo sharing site, a little bit like Flickr. It was founded by John Borthwick, and basically they were getting zero user traction, not zero, but very little user traction in North America. And it got blogged by several bloggers here in Brazil, and it took off. And it spread to Chile, Argentina, Spain, Portugal, and he exited for $70 million to a French ad network, High Media. And that caught the attention of venture and angel community in New York City, because here, for one of the first times at least, we're seeing a US-based startup with no traction in the primary markets, North America or Europe, exploding in Brazil, and from there moving to Europe and getting traction. And then I began to hear friends saying, hey, do you think I should launch my software project in Brazil? It's a social project. I hear the Brazilians are very social, and this and that. Orkut took off there, and 10% of traffic on Twitter is from Brazil. And so all of a sudden that sort of starts to sink into consciousness. So look at the profile, the portfolio of the VCs, and see if there's some synergy. And increasingly there's attention. You never know.
Could I add one tip also? I would look to the profiles of private equity and venture capital partners at some of the firms, because if they're of Latin descent, they'll feel much more comfortable investing in a company in Latin America than the typical, American who doesn't know anything about, Latin America. So I think one of the biggest hurdles you have to overcome, and in your case, I think you are in a tough position, because, for example, when I joked and said Tim Draper sends all the presentations to me, he does, and I can't do anything with them because my fund is only allowed to invest in companies in Brazil. So when you have companies that are in multiple places, you don't fall within anyone's category. And it makes no sense whatsoever, because of course the smart thing to do, and the thing we want all of our portfolio companies to do, is once they've built a solid market in Brazil, the natural thing to do is spread out across the rest of Latin America. It's easiest, it's closest, we understand you guys better than we understand Asia, better than we understand the US. Makes all the sense in the world, but unfortunately the rules and regulations of a lot of the pension fund investors aren't fit for this reality. So I really sympathize with you. You're in a tough place. But what I will say is that there are before the recent crash of the Web 2.0 bubble or the global financial crisis, we, 2 or 3 years ago, we would see partners from some of the VC firms, kind of second-tier VC firms in the US. They were pushed out of the top deals in the US, so those were all going to Sequoia and Kleiner. And they said, okay, we're not winning on that end, so we're going to go to Latin America because we see interesting things in Argentina, we see interesting things in Brazil, we see interesting things in Uruguay, in Mexico, or Chile, and they were starting to come down here and make investments, and then all of a sudden the market collapsed. But some of those people, again, because there's that sense of comfort, they understand Latin America, it's not a foreign concept to them, I think you'll have a good chance with some of them.
Did I get it?
Yeah, but a very related question, very related with your comment, thank you very much, is about the preparedness of the organization when approaching the venture capital. We actually were in the process of restructuring legally the organization, incorporating it in Spain for some tax reasons. But once we approached Chilean funds, they asked us to be incorporated in Chile. So the question is, some consultant told us, first you need to be prepared, and then go to the venture capitals. But the problem is that each venture capital need a different structure organization. So what to do? Are you venture capital ready to make an agreement or to commit to give funds and give a delay for the organization to structures to take the time to be structured as you want it or as you need it for your fund.
Great. Let's have Ariel Asics respond to that. He just joined us. But maybe introduce yourself first and tell us what Geo Capital Holdings does.
Thank you, Quinn. Thanks for having me in this panel. I'm sorry I was late. Geo Capital is a merchant bank based in New York. We do business in Latin America. I'm the CEO and founder. I've been working with a lot of entrepreneurs since the early days of Endeavor. Eric, to answer your question, there was a principle, or there's still a principle, where a venture capitalist will only invest in companies they can drive to. And it's not only giving them money, but providing value added. The board meetings are more efficient if you're in person than over the phone. When you're in the local markets, like you are in Chile, although the venture capital industry is brand new and there's a few funds from the private sector and the government that are involved in trying to create or fund companies, I will look at the local markets because the venture capitalists from very far away are not that efficient in general, especially for the stage where your company is. You have to be learned to be patient. Brazil is a great example where the industry was not here 5 years ago, and now there is a lot of funds. And it's going to spread throughout Latin America. And you see, for example, that Advent was able to raise $1.6 billion 2 weeks ago, the largest Latin American private equity fund. So there's more capital coming to Latin America. So my advice is you need to be patient, number one. If you're going to go and raise money in France, you're French, that relates to a lot of French insurance companies or other groups that might be willing to invest. It's not only the US, you also see the Chinese making investments in Latin America. Right now they're making investment at the government level, some large companies, but you don't know where capital will come from. I mean, it's very, very global. The internet companies like Mariano's have the advantage to play in the same level field because what the internet has done is that you can create a program, it catches anywhere in the world, and suddenly you probably will sell it because Americans come with a lot of money, better back, it fits larger US based company. I think the next level will be I'm not going to sell to them, I want to develop my own company and grow it and compete with them. So I'm in power. So in